The Joe Rogan Experience.
But the city, because of their ridiculous policies, is just a fucking disaster. A dangerous, creepy, weird disaster of a city.
1961 Bel Air fire, which is probably the same time period.
Could
Says
be.
it's a windy, sounds the same. Brush fire, wind.
But I mean, that's just what happens, man. So the situation that I encountered was from 2000. I was filming Fear Factor, so it had to be before 2007. So it was really before a lot of this. I mean, you know, you had the Inconvenient Truth documentary, but you didn't have the type of climate change discussions that you have today.
So you think it was more...
It's just L.A.
Okay.
It's just L.A. It's not a climate change issue. God, I got to find this video. I know I have.
15,000 acres burned, 450 homes burned. Here's the aftermath. Houses, they're digging through it.
Yeah, that is a black and white one. The one that I had was color footage. I know I have it. If you just give me a second, I will find it.
The documentary is called Design for Disaster that's popping up. This also says Bel Air.
Here, I'm just going through Whitney Cummings sent it to me, so I'm going through my videos with her. And I'll find it in a second. But the point is, it's like when I experienced that, this was not when everybody was chiming in about climate change being here it is. I found it. 1960s, it was in the canyon. Here it is. I'll send it to you, Jamie.
134 square miles of thick, dry chaparral and
yeah. And it's one of those guys talking like this, because that's how they talked in the news back then. So it's a 1961 documentary about the fires. And so when I was talking to this fireman, I think it was 2003. If I'm correct, I think it was 2003, and we were experiencing a fire, and he told me, because where I lived, I had been evacuated 3 times. I've been evacuated in the early 2000s, so give me some volume on this so you could hear the way this guy talks.
ground cover in the Western Hemisphere. The fire, starting from its point of origin north of Mulholland on Stone Canyon, spreads out along canyon walls in 3 directions. Flames begin spreading at the rate of 13 acres per minute.
We've got a report of 4 people trapped on foot between Chelan and Roscommare. We need help from the police department.
Send an ambulance to 2025 Padella Road.
How can a modern water system properly designed to meet emergency fire conditions fail to function? 484 times, fire proved its deadly efficiency by incinerating in a few roaring minutes what families had taken years to acquire. 134.
So that has always been a problem.
So they had the same issue back then.
The 100% same issue. So this idea that these left-wing people, particularly media people, they want to use this binary thing. You know, this is what I saw. Oh, Trump said drill, baby, drill, right after we're dealing with this climate change-fueled emergency in the Pacific Palisades and climate change. That is not, it's not climate change. It is the climate of Los Angeles. It's a fucking desert. They put a city in the fucking desert because they wanted to film movies there. And it's also windy in the winter, because you get the Santa Ana winds, which is what just occurred, where you get these 100-mile... They're historic. They've always happened. Every year we get the Santa Ana. There's fire season for a fucking reason. Los Angeles has fire season. Where I used to live, it was fire season. And every time the winter would come and everything was dry and all of the vegetation was brown and the wind was whipping around, everybody would get nervous. Because you get... You know, there's a bunch of different reasons. The one big one from 2018, they found out that it was like some part that had failed that initially caused the fire. That was a $1 part. The part cost $1. This $1 piece that they failed to replace caused the sparks that led to the initial fire that was the 2018 fire, where you saw, if you go down the 405 in Hollywood, like half of the side of the highway was completely engulfed in flames. It looked apocalyptic. It was bananas. Driving down the highway, and the whole left side of the highway is completely on fire. Just giant hills of raging fires that they couldn't put out. It's always been like this. It's Los Angeles. It's Los Angeles.
So why didn't they adapt? Like, I lived in LA for 2 years. I'm on the volunteer fire department in my town where I live now in Massachusetts, and we don't have fire hydrants.
That's go crazy.
We're out by Concord, like near there.
Yeah, I know where that is.
So
Yeah.
there's no fire hydrants. And so we bring our own water.
That's so crazy.
But it's possible, is my point.
Yeah, it's possible. And the problem with this past fire, and here's another thing that's a lot of weird pushback against, that it was arson caused. Hey, some of it was arson caused. Fact. They've
know that
arrested
now?
people.
Okay.
They arrested people for starting fires. They've arrested multiple people for starting fires. My friend Andrew Huberman filmed people starting fires. They were starting fires in the middle of this fire disaster.
Right.
Because it doesn't mean it's the cause of it.
Right.
It means along the way, there was a lot of arson. Like some people were saying that, there's this false narrative that it was the homeless people. Like, okay, whether they had a house or whether they didn't have a house, some people started fucking fires. There's video footage of the 3 fires that are started semi-simultaneously that are near the Palisades. And on one of the video footage, it's very clear that there's a human being. This is like from the sky where they're filming this. There's a human being that's near the fire. Most likely, the cause of the fire was a person who either accidentally did this or did it on purpose, lit a fire. So the problem is not fucking climate change. The problem is LA is extremely vulnerable when it comes to fires and always has been, and they've done very little to mitigate this yearly disaster problem that they have. That's the facts.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. That's indisputable.
Do you think
see-
Gavin Newsom's is this going to be the end of him, or are people going to put up with it?
I would like to think that people would wise up. I mean, there's been a trend in California to vote in the opposite direction. If you look at the map of 2020 versus the map of 2024, the counties that went red, like a significant number. But the high population centers are in the trance. The San Francisco, Los Angeles, very difficult to get those people to vote anything other than blue. And so if the people that are Democrat are giving them the exact same solutions, the exact same gaslighting, and they keep buying it over and over again, and they still win elections, then there's no incentive for them to correct course. So this is why California has been essentially blue since, except for the time where Arnold won, which is weird, right? Because he was kind of like a moderate Republican and also famous, and that probably led to him winning. But other than that, since Reagan, he did something where he allowed people that came here, and what was the issue that Reagan did? There was some sort of a voting issue where he allowed people from, I think it was people that had emigrated here illegally from Mexico. There's coffee and water, whatever you'd like. There's water in that glass right there. But California is basically locked blue. And the only thing that's going to change it is things like these Pacific Palisades fires, where people realize we have an incompetent government. And if we have competent government that is right-wing, and as long as they don't infringe on civil rights and human rights and all the things that we're terrified of from right-wing extremists, as long as they don't do that, you'll probably be better off leaning in that direction. If someone's going to take a pragmatic solution, a pragmatic view of what these problems are, and make meaningful change. Like you've got to figure out what is first of all, with the fires, it's like this all could be prevented. What's causing the fire? Well, all this brush. They had record rainfall. Record rainfall means record growth. So you have record growth of all these grasses and brush and all this stuff. So it's all green and lush until LA runs out of water because it stops raining for a long time, and then everything turns brown, and then it's a tinder. It's just fire tender. It's just it's a tinderbox.
When the fire chief says if we'd had 1,000 more trucks, it wouldn't have, quote, tamped this down.
Mm-hmm.
But then we see an old man with a garden hose able to save his house. It's like, well, an individual was able to make a difference.
Right.
So then logically a difference could be made.